Tonight on the 31 Nights of Halloween Horror, this island getaway is great. It has a wonderful private house, many white sandy beaches, and beautiful weather. Oh yeah, it also has someone that wants to kill you. Tonight's movie, The Slayer.
Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of the 31 Nights of Halloween Horror! Triskaidekaphilia! Oh yes, and tonight, episode number 30. That's right, one more to go after tonight. And I thought, how am I going to end this 31 Nights of Halloween Horror? And unfortunately, it's not with Brides of Blood because I actually would have to order that movie and have it sent to me. So sorry, maybe next year. And I like it when people do requests. I try to fulfill them, but sometimes I can't get to it. So for one reason or another. Anyways, so I thought, you know what? I am going to end this year on a slasher note, since we've kind of dove into a bunch of slashers this year, and I thought, let's continue on, because I like slashers. They are my favorite subgenre of horror, and that's probably why I like giallo as my second favorite, because they're very, very related. So anyways, I thought I'm going to review two slashers to finish out the 31 Nights of Halloween Horror that are, I would say, very underrated. In fact, this first one I didn't even hear of until this year. And so let's get to that with the first one. And that is the movie The Slayer. Yes, The Slayer. Now, this version does have alternative art. However, I think it's kind of a spoiler. So I'm doing the non-alternative art portion for this review. Also, I highly recommend any of you who are interested in watching The Slayer, do not watch any of the trailers. Don't watch any of the trailers. Try to watch this movie without knowing the trailers. Because the trailers do something that's just absolutely ridiculously stupid. Because part of like the magic of this movie is ruined in the trailers. Anyway, so moving. So, what is The Slayer about? Well, The Slayer is about a woman who has a nightmare where she's in a house and she gets killed by something. And she wakes up, it's a nightmare, and she is supposed to go with her husband and her brother and her brother's wife to a secluded island. They are getting a cabin by some well-to-do friend of theirs, and they are going to have themselves a nice getaway vacation by themselves in this wonderfully fully stocked beach house in an island away from all the hustle bustle. But she's very anxious about this whole situation because she is being plagued by these nightmares. And when they get to the island, she continues to have these nightmares. And then when things start happening, she's convinced that her nightmares are clairvoyant visions of things to come. And those things that are coming are, well, not conducive to life. They are not conducive to life. They are actually pretty detrimental to the living, the continued living of these people. So, will she be able to unravel the mystery behind her dreams and save herself and her brother and their spouses before they all end up unalived? Well, you'll have to watch this to find out. So let's get to those scores, shall we? Violence and gore. I'm going to give this a 2.5 out of 5. This is all pretty standard fare for a slasher. It's got some bloodiness. It has a decapitation. And really, like that scene with that is kind of nasty. But overall, there's not a lot of violence in there. but there is quite a bit of blood, and the kills are kind of interesting. So I'm saying it's pretty average for slasher fare. I'm giving it a 2.5 out of 5. Moving on to shock value, I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5. This movie is definitely a slow churning, slow burning movie, but it does a great job of creating this uneasy atmosphere. The scene where the guys hears the sound, goes to investigate in the middle of the night, goes into the basement area. It's creepy and it's tense, and it maintains that eerie, tense feeling throughout the movie up till the masterful ending, which just busts you in the face. And so I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. You also get kind of, the ending, like, okay, so like there's the part of the ending and then there's the ending. The ending is a nice little twist ending, which I also appreciate, but man, that what happens like toward the end, like that final thing going on was just a masterclass in tension and payoff. So 4 out of 5. Moving on to plot, and I'm also going to give this a 4 out of 5. Just the way they set the story in motion, the clues, the cues, the way it unfolds is very natural. It doesn't feel forced, and even though it's slow churning, it definitely builds this unease and this strange, eerie atmosphere, and it just makes you tense throughout the entire movie. And they do just a great job with that, especially for a movie that doesn't have a high body count. It definitely can, in some people's minds, if it doesn't have really high body count and an average runtime, what are they doing throughout the movie to, I don't know, say, entertain you, keep you interested? And the plot of this movie, the story, the way they do it, definitely keeps you entertained, even though there's not a whole lot of murderous action going on from part to part. But man, that third act definitely brings a lot to the table, and I appreciate it for it. And the build-up is worth the ending, so I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. Moving on to acting, I'm also giving this a 4 out of 5. Solid performances. Maybe the lead character is a little over the top at times. Maybe the brother's performance is a little cliche, but I think they all do their job, and they do their job well, and it really creates it really helps create that eeriness and that reality of that of the plot by having actors that I think do a very competent job of setting up not only the story and the events, but also the emotions behind it. And I say kudos. Good job. 4 out of 5. Moving on to Nudity, and I'm giving this a 0.5 out of 5. It probably was going to be just a 0.25 out of 5, because really, like at the beginning, there's a very brief and steamy, as in not steamy because of the action going on, but steamy because it's a shower and steam happens. Very brief, steamy shower scene. But there is also, toward the end, a little WWS action. What is WWS? Well, wet white shirt. Use your imagination. Anyways, 0.5 out of 5. Moving on to enjoyment factor, I am also giving this a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed this movie. I really enjoyed the initial watch, and also on this Blu-ray, they have a... one of the things about this movie is that there's this theater on this island that is abandoned, and apparently the theater has been restored, and people actually watched this movie in the theater that was abandoned on the island, and so rewatching it with the audience reactions to everything also was pretty fun. And honestly, this is a movie that I will show other people, and I will watch several more times, because it's the journey is so well done, and the payoff I love so much. So yeah, I think it's a great movie. 4 out of 5. It's definitely criminally underrated because I've never heard of this. And yes, I guess in a world where it doesn't have a very high body count, it's not super pervasive on the blood and gore. And of course, yeah, it doesn't have a lot of the exploitative factors that some other more memorable slashers have. But honestly, this should be talked more in the horror community. I think it's definitely, especially given like when it was made, and also there was like this sort of making of featurette has some really cool stories about the production of this movie. Anyways, 4 out of 5. Overall impression is a 4 out of 5. It's very well made. I can't sing the praises of this movie enough. It's not perfect. It definitely can be considered slow. I know modern audiences might be just like, oh, there's just nothing happening. Oh, emotions and stuff. Oh, and the thing is, like, I hear a lot of this talk nowadays about like how like, oh, these brilliant new movies from the 2020s, 2022, 2, 3, whatever. They deal with trauma and it's so profound because these movies are actually about trauma. This movie is about trauma. This girl has been traumatized by these dreams ever since she was a kid. And in a way, this island is a manifestation of her trauma. And what happens is a manifestation. So, I mean, like, look, movies have been dealing with trauma ever since movies started. So it's not a new thing, kiddos. You didn't discover the wheel. All right? Watch some older movies and learn some lessons. Okay. That's why you complain about like how all these like people like me always talk about older movies and they don't seem to have as much respect for the newer movies, which are much better made. I'm like, well, no, it's because a lot of the newer movies, they're not really breaking much new ground. They'd have to do a lot of crazy shit just to do that. But I'm not saying that the newer movies are bad. I'm just saying that there's a reason why there's a lot of people who like the older movies a bit better is because they kind of done that shit first. Anyways, so there you have it. That averages out to 3.3 out of 5, by the way, which is pretty damn impressive considering the lack of violence and other exploitative elements. Anyways, so there you have it, The Slayer, which is now on the floor because I lost, like, oh man, my old age, the grip's just not there anymore. Anyways, so tell me what you think in the comment section below. Did you agree with me, disagree with me? Do you like The Slayer? Have you ever heard of it? I think you should check it out. Anyways, and thank you again for watching another episode of the 31 Nights of Halloween Horror. And to remember to rate, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff, whatever, blah, blah, blah. One more episode to go! And, yes. Finally, stay scary, Internet. And, as always, the wonderful words of advice. And that wonderful word of advice is someone's already dead and you don't know what happened. You don't know who or where the killer is. But you're going to go outside by yourself to grab some stuff. It's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. Safety in numbers. But also, you know what? Maybe that stuff not as important as you think it is. Maybe just wait till, I don't know, morning. Castle yourselves. Weapon yourselves. Like I said, safety in numbers. But going out into the dark, stormy island by yourself with not a real weapon, I'm just saying it's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. Wait till morning. Seriously, you stand a better chance barricading yourselves in a room and protecting yourselves there, especially with multiple people to help you out. I'm just saying. It should be common sense, but whatever. It's a horror movie. You're supposed to do that because, divide and conquer, right? All right. Ah!